Okay, you got shot 7 times?
Yes, sir.
I don't I don't really want to go into that, but that's unusual. So why did so you got ordered to drug rehab because of this pill you took because you got shot 7 times.
Yes, sir. That's the only reason I even went there. And the pill that I got, it was a fake pill that with my aunt that I thought I could trust. Like my aunt didn't think somebody gonna give her a fake pill. She was just trying to help me because I got shot 7 times and my pain and my pain level was high. She didn't have intentions on giving me a fake pill that had fentanyl and cocaine in it. That was not her intention.
Okay. Did you go to the doctor when you were shot? Am I hearing that right? 7 times you were shot.
Yeah,
Did you?
I was shot 7 times.
Well, let's see if the former sheriff of Louisiana has some compassion for a man who was shot that many times and needed some pain relief. You know, there's something interesting about this case, and I got to take a step back. This is a parole revocation hearing. So he is locked up for violent offenses. He did his time, he's been paroled, and now he's at risk of getting revoked for violating the parole. And I think he puts up an interesting argument, but I almost wonder if he needed an attorney, if an attorney would have made a difference. Anyways, let's go see what the parole board decides, and I'll unpack it at the end.
And you do not have a retained attorney today, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I am going to be reading the charges against you. Could you sit up so I can see you better? Half of your face is... Okay, just sit back. Thank you. We can still hear. You have been charged with violating your conditions of parole, and I'm going to read the allegations. And if you will, would you please enter a plea of guilty, not guilty, or guilty with a statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Number 4, you failed to refrain from illegal use of drugs as evidenced by your testing positive on 10/17/2024 for fentanyl and cocaine, and you were referred to our in-house substance abuse counselor, Sarah Cobb. It was determined that you needed to complete detox and inpatient treatment, and you were transported to the Grove for services. On 10/21, you were discharged from the Grove due to non-compliance. After being discharged, a parole warrant was requested and issued. How do you plead?
Guilty with a statement, if you don't mind.
I'll give you a chance to give that statement when Mr. Prater is talking with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, number 7, on 11/15/2024, the PNP agents executed a warrant, and for over an hour, you refused to comply to verbal commands to exit the home, and it took at least an hour for you to comply before being taken into custody. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
And number 10, you failed to make payments toward your supervision fees and are currently $252 in arrears.
Guilty.
Okay. So let's see, you were paroled May 21st, 2024, and you were detained 11/15/2024, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. At this time, I'm going to ask you to answer questions by Mr. Prater.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, Mr. Gaines, your drug screen came back, but you denied using illegal drugs while you were on parole, but your drug screen came back hot.
Yes, sir.
But then you did admit to using cough syrup and Mojo. Is that correct?
No, sir. When I was my parole officer asked me what drug did I ever use, I told her when I was in jail I was smoking Mojo. When I was at home, I got shot 7 times. So I asked my grandma and my aunt for some pain medicine. The pain medicine they gave me, they got it off the streets, which was laced with fentanyl and cocaine. I didn't when I talked to my parole officer, I was scared to tell her because I thought I'd go to jail. But when I went to rehab, they tried to get me to take Suboxone pills, and I asked my family what was Suboxone pills, and my family told me that Suboxone pills is like a drug the same as fentanyl. So that's why I didn't do it. And they hold that over my head that I didn't take the Suboxone pill. And like they hold it over my head for days, and then they finally just woke me up and said they releasing me from the program. I never,
you went to drug rehab and then they kicked you out of drug rehab.
yes, sir, because I didn't take Suboxone pill, that drug, because my like when I took the pill that I got from my aunt, the pill was laced with fentanyl and cocaine. It sent me unconscious. I already don't do no drugs. I don't do no pills, no none of that. And so that already had scared me in my mind to not take any pills. When I took the pill from her, it sent me unconscious. Then like 2 days later, I went to see my parole officer. That's how I had fentanyl and cocaine in my system from the fake press pill.
So you're telling them you're just a drug dealer, you're not a drug user.
No, I'm not a drug. I got a fake pill. I don't sell no drugs. I bought a fake pill. Like my aunt gave me a fake pill that she got from somebody off the street. I don't sell no drugs. I don't do drugs.
Well, I thought it said in the report somewhere that you said you just sold drugs. Did you used to sell drugs?
Oh, sir, I never sold drugs. I never had a drug problem on probation. I never went to jail for drugs. I never failed the drug test since I've been on parole. I got 5 months left on parole. I never been on no drugs. I never failed the drug test. I never did none of that. Like since I've been on parole, this is the first time I ever got in trouble on parole. This is the first time I don't even know why I'm in like so much of a trouble. And I came back to jail. I've been in jail for 2 months behind, like, me taking a fake pill. I got shot 7 times. That's the only reason I even took the pill. I don't take no medication. I'm not prescribed medication. I don't do no drugs.
Okay, you got shot 7 times.
Yes, sir.
I don't really want to go into that, but that's unusual. So you got you got ordered to drug rehab because of this pill you took because you got shot 7 times.
Yes, sir. That's the only reason I even went there. And the pill that I got, it was a fake pill that was my aunt that I thought I could trust. Like my aunt didn't think somebody gonna give her a fake pill. She was just trying to help me because I got shot 7 times and my pain level was high. She didn't have intentions on giving me a fake pill that had fentanyl and cocaine in it. That was not her intention.
Okay. Did you go to the doctor when you were shot? Am I hearing that right? 7 times you were shot.
Yeah, I was shot 7 times, but that's before I went to jail. Like when it get cold outside, the pain.
Oh, okay. That was a long time back.
Yeah, that was like 2 years ago. But when it get cold outside, the aching tends to come back, and it just a real hurt.
Okay, tell me about this deal where they waited for an hour outside for you to come out, or you wouldn't come out of the house. What happened then?
They said it took me an hour to come outside. When I woke up, it took me 5 minutes to go outside. I'm telling my parole officer, because that's why she said she gonna send me in front of the board. If I knew the probation officer was outside my house, I would have got up. The only reason I didn't even hit him is I had a fan on and my TV on. My baby wasn't even crying, and my baby's only 9 months old. So that's why I'm like, they telling me they've been there for an hour. My baby would have been started crying. I would have been knew y'all was outside.
You think they just making that up?
No, I'm not saying they making it up, sir, but I'm just saying, Mr. Prater, I'm just saying, like, they probably was, but I didn't hear them to say, I'm just not opening the door for y'all. Like, that's my whole point.
Okay. I just, you shouldn't have been taking that pill. I don't have any more questions.
Ms. Stapleton?
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Gaines, I distinctly heard you say you only smoked Mojo in prison.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is it permissible? Is it okay to smoke Mojo in prison?
No, ma'am. I said, no, ma'am. That was,
So you didn't follow the rules while you were in prison, is what you're saying?
no, I'm saying like that's what, when my parole, I was asking me what drugs I ever did. I said when I was in jail, I smoked Mojo one time. That's what I told her. I said, I didn't, I don't, that's what I was saying. Like, that's the only drugs I ever did. When she asked me what drugs have I ever did in my life, that's what I told her.
Okay. The statements we have received from the treatment facility are very disturbing about what you said. And you are on parole for crimes of violence, right? A crime of violence. So, and that concerned me. So, Mr. Gaines, I think the panel is prepared to vote. Mr. Prater, are you prepared?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. I vote to revoke because of the violation of rule number 4, rule number 7, and rule number 10.
Ms. Stapleton?
I concur.
Mr. Gaines, by the preponderance of evidence, the report that we have received being dismissed from treatment, my vote is to revoke your parole. So at this time, you've been revoked, and we're going to close off there at Riverside, River Bend. It's now 10:50. Thank
Gotta
you.
tell you, I actually believed him. Call me a sucker. I don't know. He was saying it so adamantly, so convincingly, and it doesn't help that in our spreadsheet we have no records on him, nothing, zero. And usually we can see a track record of crimes when someone has, you know, a long history of doing that kind of stuff, narcotics. Now it is possible that his name is somewhat common and that's why we don't have any information, but call me a sucker. I don't know. He was saying it so adamantly until I guess Miss Ledoux brings up the Mojo thing in prison, and then it makes you start to wonder. And then also about not getting up out of bed when the police are outside, and he said it took over an hour, and he's like, well, I was just sleeping, and then it starts to get a little bit sketchy. But one might wonder, would a good attorney have helped him out? Well, the next case that we're going to see, they had an attorney, but was he good enough, or was he the right one? We'll find out.
I thank you. I thank you. As a representative of Mr. Domingo, I'm hearing that you are basing and giving a lot of weight to a police narrative. Now, from an attorney standpoint, police narratives are hearsay, and they are reviewed by the district attorney's office. Those narratives that you are reading and giving great weight to have been reviewed prior to ever getting to this stage, and they were denied. And that means that they feel that they cannot reach the burden of proof, which is beyond a reasonable doubt. Right now, you're using those narratives and you're giving weight to them. From what I'm hearing, that this is leaning towards a revocation, whether that revocation came from the probation and parole at the hearing or whatever, because I didn't get those documents until this morning. 45 pages of documents I got this morning. However, I was there. Now, I do know that if this person was convicted, if Domingo was convicted and had his right to due process, then that would be a different finding. Because that at that point, the police would have been under question, witnesses would have been under questioning and everything. But here we have the actual victim here who is putting on statements and saying, hey, this stuff in this narrative is not true. So it's almost what I'm seeing here is that they could not convict him in a court of law under due process, which is why they did not bring it. But it seems to me right now, this is getting ready to be used against him as though those statements are accurate and true. And I just have a problem with that, because if that's the case, then we could have went to court, found him not guilty, and then hopefully it would have been a different outcome. But the district attorney themselves says, no sense in taking this to court because we can't reach the burden of proof of beyond a reasonable doubt. So none of those charges are being lodged against him, except for right now. It seems that you're going to use the narrative to bring those charges against him. And I think that that is legally and patently unfair to Domingo.
That's a valiant effort by his attorney, but sadly, and we see this all the time, it's just not relevant. When someone goes out to parole, they sign a contract, and in that contract, it states that they will not be involved in any criminal activity. And because of this, the DAs, they don't take these cases to trial. They just drop them because they know that they are going to go in front of the parole board, and the parole board has the power to revoke. It's that vague language which gives the power to the parole board. We see this happen far too often where attorneys, they might be great at their craft, but they just don't understand this little corner of the law. Anyways, he is at risk of getting revoked. Now, his initial crime was getting busted with $32,000 worth of the devil's lettuce. He served his time for that, got out on parole, and now he's at risk of getting revoked. So with that, let's jump in.
You are accused of violation number 2, in which you failed to report for the following months: November and December 2023, January through September of 2024. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
I have 2 parts on number 4. The first one, on or about 10/16/2023, you engaged in criminal conduct by committing the offense of home invasion. How do you plead on that one?
Not guilty.
On the second part of that, well, I will note that on 9/25/2024, the charge was refused. On 9/11/2024, you engaged in criminal conduct by committing the offense of domestic abuse battery. How do you plead on that?
Not guilty.
Noting for the record that charge was also refused 10/16/2024. You have failed to maintain monetary obligation and currently are arrears of $882 in supervision fees. That's violation number 10. How do you plead on that?
Not guilty.
Okay. At this time, we are going to allow Mr. Allen. How would you like to handle? Would you like to speak, or would you allow Ms. LeBlanc and Ms. Gale to go first?
Your Honor, I would like to, one, I think that a couple of those answers that he gave, he may have meant to do not guilty with a statement.
Okay.
Because some of the, fees are objective. It's either paid or not paid. And I think appearance is another objective, but there are some rational reasons that needs to be stated. With that being said, I just wanted to enter those on Domingo's behalf so that they can be spoken to. I would go ahead and submit to his mother and the alleged victim, Miss India, to go prior to.
Which ones should be with statement? 2, 4A, 4B, or 10?
The one that he did not appear before his probation officer, not guilty with a statement. There were some circumstances that caused that.
Okay.
And that last one about the fees, unless those fees have been paid recently, that's an objective finding. I think there's a not guilty with a statement on that one as well.
Okay, then I will go ahead and allow Ms. Gale, the offender's mother, to speak.
Can we do Miss India, since the charges that were alleged, although they were refused, she was the alleged victim in those charges?
We'll let her speak next. Ms. Gale, go ahead. They'll both speak.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Hi. Yes, ma'am. I'm Domingo Gale's mother. And I'm just on his behalf that I just want to let everybody know my son is not a bad person. He has a good heart. He does wonderful for his kids. He just got, he just had a lot going on. He's been through so much in the past. He got hit by a car. He had a lot of ill going on with him, so that's why he didn't pay, some of the things. He couldn't work. He got hit by a car. He had 4 surgeries. He had, 5. And, it allowed him to push him back a little bit, but it's not that he didn't want to pay. Later on, he started off as a greeter to Walmart until he worked his way up. But he was trying, he wanted to do right. He started school for air conditioning and refrigeration. Just doing well for himself, just doing good. He never got in trouble or anything. He was just trying to stay on the right path, and then this came about, which didn't happen, and I'm just a mother that, that if it happened, it happened, but it didn't happen. And, I just want my son to come home,
I understand.
just
Thank you very much for being here and making those statements. It's always, mamas always stand behind their children.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, at this time, we'll allow Miss India LeBlanc to make a statement.
Okay, hello, how are you?
Good.
My name is India LeBlanc, and I am Domingo Gale's mother of his children, and also at the time, like I said, we were around each other, but we haven't been around each other in a year. We do have a background of back and forth, little minor calls to the police and stuff. So, the day that this happened, we were actually coming inside from the hurricane. Domingo had went to work that day or whatnot. I had cooked food. The children were home. He was coming over to help me with the children, and we had just moved, so we still had things to do. And we walked outside because my oldest son still had football practice, and my youngest daughter still had cheerleading practice. And we was going to take them to practice. My friend was taking us, and amongst going outside, they had 2 sheriffs arrive, and the sheriffs just got out on us, and they started saying how basically they had got a call from us, and I'm like, no, sir, you never got a call from us. And they like, well, is anything wrong with you? Is anything wrong with your body? And I'm like, nothing's wrong with me. I'm just taking my children to school. They was like, step away from the vehicle. And they made me back up, but I didn't know what was going on, but they asked for Domingo. So I thought they just knew him, or they didn't say his name, but they asked, where is he? They said, where is he? And then when they said, where is he? I'm like, who? And I'm thinking just, they talk about him. So I was like, he's in the house, but they started to walk towards my house or whatnot. But amongst being arrested and released, the address, I do have my lease with me. If anybody needs to be emailed my lease or anything. But we were both arrested, but I felt like I was also arrested because I said he didn't hit me. It's like I was being forced to say he hit me. But really, they run in his background, and the officer that arrested him said he was being arrested for a warrant for home invasion prior a year ago, which was also with me that I wrote an affidavit on a year ago because a cop made a statement saying Domingo broke in my house. Domingo never broke in my house. I had also that from my real estate agent. I have a police report that said I told them the kids were playing outside and a ball had came through the window or something, and we had to fix the window. So Domingo wasn't even present at that time or whatnot. And then so amongst that, they was taking him to jail, they claimed, because of that. But the officer that was arresting me was trying to make it seem like they were arresting me because I didn't want to write down that he hit me. But we were in a domestic. They had a call on a domestic, but we had never called the police. Mind you, we had just cooked, we were taking the children inside. I just had moved in this apartment, maybe not even 2 days. So I don't know. I just felt like we were kind of being stereotyped at the time. I mean, he works, he take care of his kids. We never been having issues at all. He stays out of trouble for the most part. He's a really good guy. I mean, and it's crazy that we're being always stereotyped or, contradicted based off of our arrest record or just prior things. And domestic is something big. Also, the officer was contacting me personally after I got released from jail, trying to meet with me, saying he liked me. I'm not sure. So I feel like that's conflict of interest, because did you arrest my kid's dad because of that? Like, I had to block the number. And I also have messages of that as well.
Okay. Mr. Allen, if you would like to make a statement now, would be the appropriate time.
Yes, ma'am. First addressing India LeBlanc. As I said in our probable cause hearing, I think that Ms. LeBlanc gives the statement, and I think that based upon her statements then, as well as what she said today, you see why the charges have been dismissed. All inappropriate activity by the officer. She tells you as a victim that she wasn't a victim, that she felt that they were purely looking to arrest Mr. Domingo Gale. And so with all this being before the district attorney's office, those charges were refused. Those charges were refused because you have a crime where a victim is saying there was no crime. So I think that the evidence in her words here today before this board, as well as any prior board, should speak for itself. As regards to the things, so let's deal with the objective finding that Mr. Gale didn't report. As you heard from his mother, Mr. Gale, soon after he got out, he hit the ground running. He got a job. He progressed in that job. He went to continue his education. And as he was continuing doing those things, he was also taking care of the obligations of trying to be a father raising those kids. Unfortunately, Mr. Gale got into a vehicle crash, not a soft tissue crash. He had 4 surgeries. So this placed him in a position where he was not able to make money. He was not able to meet those obligations that were necessary by the parole board at that time, or his parole officer at that time. I think that if we speak to his officer would tell him that, would tell this board that he had knowledge, because he did go to see Domingo. He did verify that Domingo had suffered some serious injuries that would require orthopedic therapy, and that Mr. Domingo was not working. I think that that ties into the other issue, is that because he was not working and because he was incapacitated in terms of his physical condition, he could not go and meet with his parole officer or probation officer. With that being said, when he was able to, I think that he was nervous and scared based upon what he spoke upon at the hearing. He was nervous and scared based upon the old theories of probation and plus what's out there in the streets, that once you go there, they're going to arrest you. And I think in his mindset, he did not want to be held. He did not want to be arrested. So with that particular circumstance, in his perception of it, and let me do say this, that the parole officer or probation officer at the probable cause hearing, she did state, hey, probation and parole is new now. We have a new mindset now. And I just told her that probably needs to get more marketed and put out there, because a lot of people are just afraid that they can go in there to try to make things right and end up being incarcerated. Mr. Gale is a first-time offender in anything that he has done. He doesn't have a history of crime and violence. Mr. Gale is a young man that got knocked off track, one due to not his own situation. So he has a record that caused the police, when they came, to point him out and look for him. So I would ask that this board consider his history. I would ask that this board consider the alleged victim's comments. I would like this board to consider his mother's comments, and hopefully give Mr. Domingo an opportunity to continue on the path at an early age to get his life on the right track. This has been devastating for him. He's been in jail for quite some time. So I would ask that this board consider all the surrounding circumstances in rendering its decision. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Gale, why don't you speak for yourself at this point now? Tell me your side of the story.
Me and my kid's mother, we haven't talked for a little while, but we agreed to co-parent because we knew that it was hurting the children. My kids love me and I love them with all my heart. It hurts my heart to stay away from them. That day I was at work. It was the week of the hurricane. So she asked me to come over to help out, bring groceries and stuff like that. I brought groceries. I had just helped her with the money to move in her new apartment. We was talking about some things, you know. We never hit each other. We never had physical altercations like that. We never had those type of problems before, and I don't know why they said we have a history of that, because we really don't. Arguments, I mean, no relationship is perfect. But for the most part, I love my kid's mother. I just want the best for her. I mean, she explained everything to the T. I wasn't running from anything when the cops knocked on the door. I opened the door for them. They said in the report, as I can remember, that I had scratches on my wrists and blood on my pants. I didn't. I felt like if I did, they would have taken pictures of it. I told them she never hit me. I never hit her. I mean, the home invasion, I wasn't nowhere near my kid's mom's house that day. I had a plate in my arm. I had staples in my neck, my chest. I couldn't even commit that type of crime. I wasn't in the condition to. And I wouldn't, even if I was in the condition to, I wouldn't put my kids or their mama in that type of danger. It's unfortunate, you know. I'm a good person. I would never harm anybody. I don't have a criminal history of harming people. I can't even tell you the last time I got in a fight.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you that the police reports and y'all's rendition is very different. But I'm gonna ask Ms. Stapleton to go ahead and ask some questions at this time.
Hey, Mr. Gill, just heard the police reports and what you're saying are very different. I show that on July of 2021, you were arrested for domestic abuse battery with child endangerment. And on December the 6th of 2022, same thing, domestic abuse battery with child endangerment. Also, you were on a parole violation for marijuana at that same time. You're looking like you don't know what I'm talking about.
No, ma'am.
So, okay. But that's what's on here. And then also there seems to be mutual aggression because your partner, India, she has been arrested numerous times also with aggravated assault, and one with aggravated assault with a firearm, battery of a dating partner. Those are all very dangerous things because a lot of them are with child endangerment. Children are present. Who called the police on y'all this time that you say? I mean, somebody called. Y'all know?
No, ma'am, I never called the police. I don't know about my initial charge that I served time for and that I'm on parole for is for possession of marijuana. I don't have a marijuana. I never got caught with marijuana again after that.
Okay, so, but it does show that you've been arrested before for domestic violence. Both of y'all. So anyway, your attorney was talking about that probation and parole are seeing things different, and this is what I want to read that they say. Due to the findings at the preliminary hearing and the public safety of the children who were present during the incident on 9/11/2024, the Lafayette District recommends revocation. It would also be a good thing if you would attend a domestic violence program. I can't make India do that. She's not the person that we're talking about today. She's not on parole or probation, so that's for you. And that is for me, a main interest is the children. Also, I wanted to ask something. It said here that the Faith House helped to get the apartment that she's in, And you both show that as your current address, although it does say the 300 instead of the 400, like she was saying. But anyway, the current address that y'all are living together. A lot of times if a domestic violence shelter helps helps a woman get relocated, it usually the partner and the husband is not supposed to be living with them. Is that okay with the Faith House?
She's never been a member of the Faith House, and she could confirm that. I don't know where that comes from, ma'am. She's never been a member of the Faith House.
No, that they helped her get her apartment.
Oh,
No, they
ma'am,
did not.
I helped her get her apartment, ma'am.
Mhm.
Didn't have anything to do with it.
No, ma'am.
I haven't been to the Faith House. This apartment is in my name. I've paid my full rent. He helped me. He the only person helped me with my kids. And the days that we got arrested, 3 police came for 300 Fox Run. They came whenever he was incarcerated. They knocked on my door again. I had just got released. It was like 9:17. They knocked on my door hard and was saying they had another call for domestic again. They made a mistake again. I recorded it. I could email it to anyone, to his lawyer, to send to you. They made a mistake twice. I walked to them at the corner and I said, will this be a continuous problem? Because my kid's dad is sitting in jail right now for something they say we had domestic, just because we have a background. And he's saying I have aggravated assault. That all has been dismissed. Again, we're being stereotyped continuously. And it's crazy at this point because, of course, my children will be present.
Where I'm reading this from is the narrative in the police report. During the course of this investigation, it was learned that India is living at the address after receiving assistance from the Faith House. According to India, the Faith House helped her get the apartment after being involved in a domestic altercation with Domingo. However, Domingo now lives with India in the apartment. So that's from the police report. Anyway, so that's basically my concerns. The presence of the children during these domestic violence assaults. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Can I speak at this time?
Mr. Allen, I will allow you to speak, yes.
I thank you. I thank you. As a representative of Mr. Domingo, I'm hearing that you are basing and giving a lot of weight to a police narrative. Now, from an attorney standpoint, police narratives are hearsay, and they are reviewed by the district attorney's office. Those narratives that you are reading and giving great weight to have been reviewed prior to ever getting to this stage, and they were denied. And that means that they feel that they cannot reach the burden of proof, which is beyond a reasonable doubt. Right now, you're using those narratives and you're giving weight to them. From what I'm hearing, that this is leaning towards a revocation, whether that revocation came from the probation and parole at the hearing or whatever, because I didn't get those documents until this morning. 45 pages of documents I got this morning. However, I was there. Now, I do know that if this person was convicted, if Domingo was convicted and had his right to due process, then that would be a different finding. Because that at that point, the police would have been under question, witnesses would have been under questioning and everything. But here we have the actual victim here who is putting on statements and saying, hey, this stuff in this narrative is not true. So it's almost what I'm seeing here is that they could not convict him in a court of law under due process, which is why they did not bring it. But it seems to me right now, this is getting ready to be used against him as though those statements are accurate and true. And I just have a problem with that, because if that's the case, then we could have went to court, found him not guilty, and then hopefully it would have been a different outcome. But the district attorney themselves say there's no sense in taking this to court because we can't reach the burden of proof of beyond a reasonable doubt. So none of those charges are being lodged against him, except for right now. It seems that you're going to use the narrative to bring those charges against him. And I think that that is legally and patently unfair to Domingo, because he was not given an opportunity for a due process hearing because they denied it. So that's my comment. Purely from a lawyer's perspective, I think that I have a right to bring that forward to him. So that's all I did, ma'am. Thank you very much.
It is well within your right. At this time, Mr. Prater, do you have any questions?
No, ma'am, I don't have any questions, but I do want to make one thing clear because of the fact that there's so many people that listen to these and they don't always have the backstory. And the backstory is Mr. Domingo is not in jail, and we're not here because of a simple possession of marijuana charge. I just want to make sure that you understand, he was convicted of possession with intent to distribute and given 10 years. And the only reason I mention that is because there's so many people that have the false narrative that our prisons are full of people that are charged with simple marijuana, and that is simply not the case. So it's nothing about Mr. Domingo. That case is in the past, and that's been dealt with. He's been sentenced, and he's gotten out on parole, and all is fine. And I don't want him. There's nothing against Mr. Domingo, but I just want to make sure that the persons listening to this understand the full charge that he was convicted of. And I don't have any questions about the case. Thank you.
It would be important to note, and Mr. Allen, you were within your right to bring that up. However, when someone is on supervision, they have a contract, and the standard of proof is not that of a court of law because they have violations, and we have preponderance of evidence that we use. So I just want to make sure that that you understand, we have police reports which we use as evidence. Okay, in this police report, Miss India on the home invasion stated, now see, anybody can recant, and they do 90% of the time, but she stated to the police in the report that it was Mr. Domingo who became enraged and forced his way into the apartment, breaking the bottom frame of the front window. So we have her statement that this is what happened. Okay. At this point, is the panel prepared to vote?
Yes, I am.
So, Ms. Stapleton?
Okay, I'm gonna revoke you based upon the domestic violence battery charge. And also, you do have a high tiger risk score, which is something that is considered.
Mr. Prater?
I'm going to concur because it doesn't make any difference because it has to be unanimous.
Oh, it does.
Oh, it does not have to be unanimous? Okay, I'm misunderstanding. I've got that confused with parole. I'm sorry. Well, that being the case, I think there's the high tiger score bothers me. Otherwise, I would say that I would vote not to revoke, but because of the tiger score and nothing else, and counting on somebody else's, besides anybody on this board or any testimony, somebody else's opinion of reoffending, I'm going to vote to revoke.
My vote is to not revoke, to mandate domestic abuse violence classes. However, today your parole has been revoked, and the location will be getting a notice. We are at the Lafayette Parish Correction Center today at this hearing. Okay, that ends our business there. So it's 9:20 and we will adjourn.
Okay, well, this could be what Mr. Prater was referring to when he said the tiger score, the high risk. You just see arrest after arrest after arrest after arrest after arrest. And this was the article on the $32,000 worth of the Mary J that was pulled up. It said Lafayette men were arrested. Let's see, we can zoom in here. Were arrested Friday by the police found for the Devil's Lettuce found worth about $32,000 in their vehicle. And this is what the sheriff was saying. It's not just a possession charge. They had a lot of stuff they were dealing, and it was interesting how the sheriff called it out. I appreciate the sheriff for calling it out because, yeah, he knows we're watching, and it's important to state out the facts. It was, he was being painted in one side, and it's like, no, 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 this was not just the possession charge. And police conducted a traffic stop on the vehicle, which reportedly had been following a fire truck responding to a crash too closely as it moved in and out of traffic. According to a press release from the Broussard Police Department, the officers conducting the stop detected a strong odor of the devil's lettuce. You can imagine that would be coming from the vehicle. The driver of the vehicle initially refused consent to search the vehicle. However, police had probable cause to search the vehicle after BBT's K9 team were called to the scene and after the K9 alerted on the vehicle. Police recovered approximately 3.6 pounds of high-grade Mary J, worth approximately $32,000, is 3.6 pounds dirty bill. This is back in the day. Plastic baggies often used for narcotic distribution at $357 in cash. The driver was charged with possession of intent to distribute, and the passenger was charged with possession of scheduled narcotics, resisting an officer, providing false information. Remember, this was also back in 2017. So, it's something I can never understand. If you have a car full of stuff that, is worth a lot of money and you can be facing a lot of prison time, just drive a clean car and drive in a clean way. Now, if you, now, if you want to say, well, maybe he was driving fine, the police just pulled him over for whatever reason, maybe, who knows? But it does blow my mind. If I was transporting stuff, you know what I would do? I would have a minivan with car seats in it because I drive a minivan now. And I'll tell you, I don't want to jinx it. But I'm going on 4 years without getting pulled over. And before my minivan, I had my little, my little coupes, my little speedsters, and I got pulled over all the time. It was just the way it is. So, the cars do pick on certain cops do pick on certain cars. That's my experience, at least. And I had cars with tinted windows. And guess what? When I had real dark tinted windows, I was pulled over all the time. But there it is. If you're going to be transporting narcotics, don't just have a clean, boring car and drive really boring. But why am I giving such advice? Anyways, I thought that the parole hearing was handled well, although it was interesting how one was going to grant, there were 2 denials, and the sheriff said, well, except for your risk score, if you didn't need 3, I would just give 2. Yeah. But it is funny how I don't know. I thought it was interesting how the attorney did put up a valiant fight, but it's the wrong. That's the argument has no relevance. And when you're hiring an attorney, this is what I've learned. If there's any advice that I can give anybody who's going up for parole or parole revocation, and I think that this is relevant for any type of legal case that you are fighting, do your research on who the regulars are within that courtroom, within those judges, within that system. What's more important is that it's a regular that knows when we see that we have our regular sets of attorneys, and when they show up, it feels like, I haven't been keeping track, but it feels like the parole board will do the favor, will grant on the side of who they know, who they have a relationship with, who they have a rapport with. They'll say, okay, we'll do programs instead of you'll go to Steve Hoyle. They'll do something. They don't just straight out deny. And it's like that in parole too. When you see the attorneys come up, like Nordyke or what's her name, they just seem to do that. But so. Yeah, good to, if you're going to, even if it be anything, if you're fighting a DUI, you're fighting a speeding ticket, find out which attorney is the one that's showing up on a daily basis, seeing those judges, seeing those ADAs, and hire that person.
Let me just ask you this, because I think being a registered sex offender and the fact it's noted in the probation parole, and because it concerns me, is when you went to the probation parole office in May of 2024, before you went through the metal detector, you pulled out and they said you had a pocket full of condoms. being a registered, I wouldn't normally get into private people business and all that business, but you dating somebody and so much in love with them that you'd stalk them, yet you got a pocket full of condoms. And I understand they can be for, to keep from getting pregnant. I understand a lot of things, but that's kind of unusual. I know the big joke about somebody in high school got one in their wallet or something, but a pocket full, a grown man, a grown sex offender, that don't make sense to me. What's the deal?
The good old Sheriff Prater, the sheriff of Louisiana, out from retirement to the parole board, and he's got a witty sense of humor. Just the way that he talks about that, it's like, well, this is a scary case. It's a sex offender. He just paroled out less than a year ago, and here he is stalking a woman with a pocket full of condoms. And that's a fair question. Why a pocket full? And then what Mr. Prater says, I'm just trying to get to know you, but we'll see that part in a minute. This is a parole revocation hearing, as you know, so he's up for getting revoked. I don't know how much time he's back in, but it is scary when you hear about these kind of things. So with that, let's.
Right, good morning. This is the Committee on Parole. We're impaneled in headquarters in Baton Rouge. Serving today on my left is Ms. Stapleton. Virtually is Mr. Prater. I'm Ms. Ledoux. I noticed there's someone there at the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. Sir, would you please introduce yourself, the officer?
Yes, ma'am. Lieutenant Murphy.
Okay, Lieutenant Murphy, thank you for joining us. This time, would the offender please state your name and your DOC number?
My name is Marcus Allen. My DOC number is 442734.
Mr. Allen, you're before this panel due to allegations of violation of your conditions of parole. Before we get started, do you have a piece of paper in front of you that has your signature that
Yes,
indicates, okay, and it recognizes your signature?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that indicates that you are not eligible for appointed counsel, and I don't see any retained counsel. I'm going to read the allegations against you, at which time I would like for you to enter a plea of guilty, not guilty, or guilty with the statement. Rule violation number 4, you were involved in criminal activity in the commission of the offense of simple assault, other force in West Baton Rouge Parish under incident report 2463 by the Port Allen Department on 10/27/2024. How do you plead?
Guilty with a statement, ma'am.
Okay, we'll get to that statement. Mr. Prater can ask you about that. Also, you failed to make monthly supervision fees, and no payment has been made since June of 24. You're in arrears $252. How do you plead?
Guilty with a statement, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, if you will, answer questions by Mr. Prater.
Okay, Mr. Allen, I'm trying to figure out here, tell me about the stalking and threatening a victim. You showed up, you made some cell phone threats to this lady. Is that true?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, what did you threaten to do to her?
Well, sir, I told her that I was going to slap her and that I was going to mess up her restaurant.
Okay, and did you show up at the restaurant?
I did, sir. I showed up at the restaurant afterwards, like 20 minutes after I had made those threats. I had thought about it. And this is a lady that I'm in a relationship with. And I had thought about it, Mr. Prater, and I was like, I need to make this right. And I know that I went about that the wrong way.
Okay, and so then she left the restaurant and you followed her. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. When I seen her and she got into her vehicle and she was motioning with her hands and I didn't know what she was saying. So I called her and she had done left already and had told me that she was going to police station and she said that she thinks I need to go there and sit down and talk with them. And I put Port Allen PD in my GPS and I went there. I thought she was pulling my leg at first, but when I went over there, I seen her vehicle was over there and I went over there. I know I'm on parole and I didn't want any of this to get back to my parole officer. So I did go. And I spoke with the officers and they asked me what happened and I owned up. I told them what was going on. I told them what I'd done. And, you know, all those things were said out of anger, you know.
Had you been stalking her for 2 months?
No, sir. I haven't been stalking her. That the whole thing with that was she wanted to just give the relationship a break for 2 months. And that's whenever I just went in my feelings, Mr. Prater. And, you know, I thought she was cheating on me. I didn't know what was going on. And
Okay. Did the officers at Port Allen try to get you to sign a paper saying you wouldn't go back to the restaurant?
they did. She told me, the officer did tell me that. She said I don't have to. You know, I don't have to sign if I don't want to. But she said, look, just for right now, just don't go around the restaurant and just don't call her. You know, and this took place on October the 27th. I got emotional.
Why didn't you sign the paper?
I don't know, sir. I got emotional. I started crying and I left from out the police station. They came out, asked me if I was okay. I shook both their hands and I left. And
okay. Are you a registered sex offender?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. When did you start dating that lady?
Back in February.
And were y'all dating in May?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me just ask you this, because I think being a registered sex offender and the fact it's noted in the probation and parole, and because it concerns me, is when you went to the probation and parole office in May of 2024, before you went through the metal detector, you pulled out and they said you had a pocket full of condoms. Being a registered, I wouldn't normally get into private people business and all that business, but you dating somebody and so much in love with them that you'd stalk them, yet you got a pocket full of condoms. And I understand they can be for, you know, to keep from getting pregnant. I understand a lot of things, but that's kind of unusual. I know in, you know, the big joke about somebody in high school got one in their wallet or something, but a pocket full, a grown man, a grown sex offender, that don't make sense to me. What's the deal?
I just had them, sir. Every time I go to probation and parole, I mean, I was using protection, you know, and I didn't think that would be a problem.
I
mean,
I'm not saying it's a problem. I just kind of trying to get to know you a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And notice you're number 10. How much money are you owe? Don't you owe some money to probation and parole?
Yes, sir, I do.
How much?
Right now, sir, I'm at $252 in the hole.
Okay.
Not a whole lot. It's not a whole lot. That was going to get taken care of, sir. Mr. Prater, I'm not going to lie to you, sir. I have been mismanaging my money. It's nobody's fault but my fault.
Okay. And you got 15 years and 15 years, total of 30 years. If you put them together, you were paroled in January 24, and here you're already in trouble for some pretty serious charges.
Well, I don't have no charges against me, Mr. Prater, but I'm in violation, sir.
Yes, sir. Pretty charges that you violated some rules. You're right. You saying it. I mean, I violated. You saying it right, and I'm saying it right. Okay. I don't have any more questions.
Mr. Stapleton.
Yes, I've listened to Mr. Prater and the questions that he had for you. Very concerning for me since you did have an aggravated sexual assault charge.
Yes, ma'am.
And I can understand why this lady would be, well, you gave her threats. You gave her threats, she showed up. And the stalking charge, I think, was valid. You know, so all of that does concern me very much. So I see too that you pled guilty to these things at the preliminary hearing, so I have no questions.
Mr. Allen, if you needed to get, anger management, you were at the parole project. You didn't take anger management classes?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, parole project, they have been there for me. And
Did you anger management classes?
yes, ma'am. And
So non-compliant with that I mean, that didn't necessarily help you with the anger.
no, I mean, it's not that, ma'am. I messed up, Miss Ledoux, and
Okay, well, and unfortunately today you have to answer for that, okay?
well, Miss Ledoux, yes, ma'am.
I think we have enough information, Mr. Allen. Mr. Prater, if you would begin with the vote.
So my vote is to revoke violations of Rule 4 and 2 and 10.
And Ms. Stapleton.
I concur.
And Mr. Allen, based on your guilty pleas, my vote is also to revoke your parole. I hope that it goes better next time. Okay?
yes, ma'am.
Thank you. That concludes our business at 11:07 with East Parish Prison.
Well, and they made quick work of him. And again, I don't have anything in his jacket of the crime and how much time he's in for. And I messaged Sir Richard and I said, are we sure that we don't have his parole hearing somewhere in your spreadsheet? Because it says he was paroled last year and that he was paroled to the parole project. So I'm not sure that, I don't know if the parole project takes someone who comes out just by doing their full term or good time. So, the problem is that it is a common name. So that could be a part of it. But Sir Richard will check the spreadsheet one more time, and you might not even see this message if he does come back with that parole hearing. I'll probably be playing this in a different hearing and I'll edit it out. But if you are seeing this, it means that we don't have it. I'm not sure how he ended up in the parole project without having parole. Maybe they take, I don't know. Actually, I have no idea. But there you have it. They made quick work of him. Pocket full of condoms. The sheriff, he's funny. And so we saw parole hearings, 3 parole revocation hearings, 3 revocations, 1 with an attorney, 2 without. We're going to be seeing a lot of revocations coming up in the dockets and a lot fewer parole hearings. And that's because the legislation has changed. A new governor with a new sheriff is in town, and parole rules have gotten much tougher. You got to serve at least, I think, 80 or 85% of your sentence before you can have parole now. And that's why we're seeing so few parole hearings. So that's why we're supplementing the channel with other hearings like out of the state of Utah. Make sure to check out the playlist if you want to have the differentiations. And with that, I'll let you go.
I don't really want to go into that, but that's unusual. So you got, you got ordered to drug rehab because of this pill you took because you got shot 7 times.
Yes, sir. That's the only reason I even went there. And the pill that I got, it was a fake pill that was my aunt that I thought I could trust. Like my aunt didn't think somebody gonna give her a fake pill. She was just trying to help me because I got shot 7 times and my pain level was high. She didn't have intentions on giving me a fake pill that had fentanyl and cocaine in it. That was not her intention.
Okay. Did you go to the doctor when you were shot? Am I hearing that right? 7 times you were shot.
Yeah, I was shot 7.
I do have my lease with me. If anybody needs to be emailed my lease or anything, but we were both arrested, but I felt like I was also arrested because I said he didn't hit me. It's like I was being forced to say he hit me. But really they run in his background, and the officer that arrested him said he was being arrested for a warrant for home invasion prior a year ago, which was also with me that I wrote an affidavit on a year ago because a cop made a statement saying Domingo broke in my house. Domingo never broke in my house. I had also that from my real estate agent. I have a police report that said I told them the kids were playing outside and a ball had came through the window or something, and we had to fix the window.
Let me just ask you this, because it's, I think being a registered sex offender and the fact it's noted in the probation parole, and because it concerns me, is when you went to the probation parole office in May of 2024, before you went through the metal detector, you pulled out and they said you had a pocket full of condoms. Being a registered, I wouldn't normally get into private people business and all that business, but you dating somebody and so much in love with them that you'd stalk them, yet you got a pocket full of condoms. And I understand they can be for, to keep from getting pregnant. I understand a lot of things, but that's kind of unusual. I know the big joke about somebody in high school got one in their wallet or something, but a pocket full, a grown man, a grown sex offender, that don't make sense to me. What's the deal?
I just had them, sir. Every time I go to probation and parole, I mean, I was using protection, and I didn't think that would be a problem.
It's.
I mean,
I'm not saying it's a problem. I just kind of trying to get to know you a little bit.